We're in the month of October, and there are a lot of horror movies I need to watch that I haven't seen before. One critically acclaimed one I finally watched, though, is I Saw the Devil. Does it live up to the hype? Let's talk about it. Spoilers ahead. So for those of you who haven't seen I Saw the Devil in a while, I'll give you a refresher on the premise. In the film, there's this serial killer on the loose who just so happens to kill the fiancé of an NIS agent, and naturally, the agent seeks revenge against his fiancé's killer. I've always been a fan of serial killer movies because not only do you have the intense scenes where the serial killer is hunting their prey, but I find the other side of the coin compelling too, where the detectives are tracking down the killer. And from the beginning, I Saw the Devil instantly grabbed my attention. I'm sure other people have said this before, but I Saw the Devil's intro is very reminiscent of Zodiac's. This sequence has everything from creepy vibes to suspense to brutality all around. It's pretty much everything you want from a serial killer killing sequence. And let me tell you, the opening scene in I Saw the Devil lets the audience know you are in for one gory ride. My goodness, is this a gory movie? I know serial killers tend to be gory, but this takes it up a notch. Now, luckily, it's not just violent kills throughout. Much of the violence actually occurs during action scenes, which I did not expect. No, I didn't think we'd see a plethora of fights in a serial killer movie. It would be nice if I could show you some of the violent sequences I'm talking about, but unfortunately, I think this video would get demonetized if I did so can't do that. But this is a very violent movie. Take my word for it. Maybe not anywhere close to as violent as Terrifier, but for a serial killer movie, oh, it's very violent, especially compared to movies like Zodiac. Anyway, I want to get into the performances. Choi Min-sik, excuse my pronunciation of these names, who we know from Oldboy, puts on an acting clinic here. He goes from menacing at times to someone you almost feel sympathy for. And the latter I did not expect to feel throughout the entire movie, because he's playing an absolutely despicable person, an all-around disgusting human being, and yet you do feel bad for the guy by the end. But only great actors are able to tug at your emotions like this man does in I Saw the Devil, and I think he puts on a hell of a performance. Real quick, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications for upcoming videos. Meanwhile, Byung-hun Lee gives a rather chill performance. He doesn't show much emotion, he's mainly cool, calm, and collected, exactly like how a badass would be in real life. And of course, he's equal to Choi Min-sik's brilliant work here, especially when his character does eventually grieve and show signs of sadness. Plus, like he's been known for, he does in fact perform a variety of his stunts in I Saw the Devil, which I think is really cool. The acting is universally superb in this. Even the female victims are very impressive. I'm not sure if any of them are bigger or smaller actors in South Korea, but a job well done by all of them. The acting, action, and I Saw the Devil's first act, which is Zodiac-esque, are what stood out to me as the biggest positives I took away, but there are more. I also found the film quite unpredictable, which is great for a serial killer movie. Typically, you can tell where they're going, however, that's not the case in I Saw the Devil. Nonetheless, this is where my biggest complaint with I Saw the Devil comes in. About an hour into I Saw the Devil, it appears as if the movie is over already because our protagonist has caught the serial killer, so you think, okay, where's it going from here? And then he lets him go and starts playing games with him. From here, you have multiple scenes that play out the same way, and it just seems never ending. You wonder when the script will decide to switch things up. Luckily, you do have a couple cool scenes where all of this is happening in the middle act. The most notable moment is when we reach this hotel/mansion, and the killer is shooting at the protagonist who is fending off a few foes at once. That was cool. I do wish, though, that the script switched it up. We see one scene where he gets him and lets him go. Then the next scene, the same thing happens. And then the next scene, the same thing happens. It is repetitive. Either way, I still enjoyed a lot of what this film had to offer as far as those scenes go. And I found it fascinating to watch the cat and mouse game turn from the agent tracking down the killer to the killer getting back at the agent for tormenting him when we get to the final act. So yes, the unpredictability is great to make up for that repetitiveness that we start to feel in the middle act. Also, like I've said, the intense confrontations between the serial killer and the protagonist make up for it too. I mentioned the shootout sequence, but their first confrontation is a lot of fun, and their last confrontation is absolutely brutal. Every single one of these scenes is fantastic and keeps the pace moving. Now, I never knew what the title "I Saw the Devil" meant. I wasn't sure if it was talking about just the serial killer or if the devil actually appears in the movie. No, I was wrong. In reality, the devil defines both the agent and serial killer, because obviously the killer embodies a devil-like persona, but in this we see the protagonist become a devil himself. He gets so caught up in wanting revenge, it leads to the death of more loved ones. Now, while his fiance is gone, he also loses his fiance's sister. She gets killed, as well as their dad potentially. We never know, but he's in very bad shape by the end of the movie. So the protagonist's obsession with getting revenge ends up being the worst thing possible for him, leading to a great final shot where he goes from what looks like a hollow man on the inside to a person filled with regret. He knows his fiancée is never coming back. Ultimately, this revenge path led to no change, and that, my friends, is exactly how you end a revenge movie, because revenge is never the answer. So I had a great time watching I Saw the Devil for the first time, finally, after all these years. It came out 15 years ago, and I would consider it one of the best serial killer movies I have ever seen. It is a must-watch for this Halloween. And I'm sure if you're still watching this video, you have seen the entirety of I Saw the Devil as well. So I'm curious to hear what you think. Do you love I Saw the Devil too? Is this one of the best serial killer movies in your opinion? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Well, thank you all so much for watching this movie review. Again, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed yourself. I'll catch you all in the next one. See you then.